Good afternoon, and welcome to this afternoon's run through of Seneca. My name is Ben. I'm Head of Customer Success here and looking to give you a lovely end-to-end overview, a snapshot within half an hour of how to get the very best out of Seneca as a free customer. Just going to give it a moment or two whilst everyone gets settled. Do by all means, please put your name and where you're teaching in our comments box so we can sort of have that sense of community this afternoon. Do, of course, also let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. Last thing I'd want is to conduct this whole thing and find that you've just been lip reading. So get yourselves comfortable. As I say, this is just going to be a relatively sort of whistle-stop overview of the Seneca Learning Platform today. And as soon as we're all in situ, I shall make a start. First things first, a really massive thank you to all of you for carving out the time out of what is an incredibly busy schedule this week, especially permanently in the UK. I know we've had people joining us from further afield recently, but thank you so much for the time. I know as an ex-teacher myself, just how precious time can be. So thank you for joining us today. I'm not going to make any assumptions as to what your sort of use case is or what your history with Seneca is. I'm going to take us from how do you register and log in for the first time? How do you as a teacher create a class? How do you find that content to share with your pupils? How do you review it and then assign it as homework? I will also discuss a couple of other use cases beyond just the sort of static homework. We'll look at how to report on that because, of course, it's one thing to put this fantastic tool in front of your pupils as learners, but you as teachers and educators need to be able to feed that in to the funnel that it is school data. So how can we make it meaningful for you so you can really assess the progress that your pupils are making? And we should also look at it from the other side of the coin. What is it like to be a learner using Seneca? So what does it look like when you're assigned a piece of coursework? What is it like to be an autonomous learner? And how do we sort of engender that sort of sense of passion for it, that gamification, that competitive nature? And why is it that Seneca is so powerful for learning? And at the very end, we'll touch on some of those features that sit outside of the free package. So what is the difference if you are investigating Seneca as a paid platform for your school? Super stuff. Thank you so much for those of you who are saying hi on the comments. Matt from Brighton, thank you very much, letting me know that you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you for joining us. Carolina, fantastic. British School of Marbella, wonderful. I personally went to school in British Brussels, so not quite as exotic as that, but thank you for joining us. So on my screen this afternoon, I'm just going to make the screen a little bigger and myself a little smaller. There we go. So prior to you joining me, what I've done is I've literally just gone into Google and I've typed Seneca Learning and clicked on the link, and this is that access point. So as you can see, the objective, although I talk about a premium service, the objective is to support staff, pupils and parents get the very most out of the British education system. So there's free access for pupils, teachers and parents from the get-go with very sort of few constraints as to what that provides you. We're looking at this from a teacher perspective, so teachers can use for free. So I've clicked on teachers and create a class. Now this is going to come in because I've actually logged in myself, but what does it look like? If I log out, just to show you, what we're trying to do at every level across Seneca is take away friction. So whether that's how you engage with technology via different passwords, whether it's how long are you having to spend planning homework, taking time out of other valuable planning sessions, etc., to collate and mark and assess. So everything is about reducing friction for you. So this is why you'll see at the front here, we have the continue with Microsoft and continue with Google buttons. So if you are predominantly using Teams within your school, you would direct staff and pupils alike to log into Seneca with their school email address and credentials that you already use on site. The same with Google. Likely some of you are using Google Classroom. And so you can log in without having to create a new password via the Google Classroom. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to log in with my Google Access. You can't see the screen as it pops up at the moment, but you will all be familiar with that authentication for Google services. So I've logged in. I'm a teacher. I don't have very many students, as you can see, and I'm a jack of all trades. I've got GCSE biology, English, French, and I've even got some economics in there. So this is what you would see from the start. We'll come back to how you can sort of clear up these lists, particularly if you are not new to Seneca and you're coming in after the summer's break and you're looking to just get a refresher, but you might have classes in there. We'll talk about how we can clear some of those out so you can start afresh, but without getting rid of previous data. I'm going to click on Add. And this is going to be our Tuesday PM class. I'm going to create the class. And what you'll find is it's a really beautifully intuitive flow. So I've created a class. I'm then prompt to add content, so course material to my class. And there are two ways I can do that. I can click on Add Course, or I can come down below to the tiles here, and I can click on Add Course. If you've had a look at Seneca already, you'll notice that we have a lot of course content. So if you were to just scroll through here, it would be a little bit of a maze to find what you want, but that's why we've got two direct routes. You can either search, so French A level, or alternatively, I can use this sort of navigation, this filter bar on the left-hand side. So I'm going to look for A-level material, and I'm going to do something completely different today. I usually go for French or biology, but there we go. I'm going to choose some geography, and then I'm going to choose my exam board. And you'll notice here that, and it's one of those frequently asked questions, who creates the content? Is it staff at Seneca sat in a back room somewhere? The truth of the matter is we've got phenomenal relationships with all the examination bodies, and it is typically the leaders of those bodies and subject specialisms who create content for us, which means you and your staff and your pupils can be confident that when they are following our learning paths, those are directly mirroring the core material that you will be teaching in class, directly sort of matching those attainment and curriculum goals. So I'm going to come to AQA. And here I am at the bottom of my content funnel, and I've got my 3 levels here. So I've got the entire Geography AQA A-level syllabus there. I've got standardized assessments, and I have a preparation as well. So here we have core material that you would look to provide to those who are leaving, what would that be, year 11, and moving into year 12, having made their selections, so that they can have that sort of pre-learning, that entry level into their A-level learning over the summer period. And so I'm going to grab the full course here. And as I do this, I must just say, at any point, if you have any questions, do drop them into the comments. It might be that it's something that will form part of the natural flow of my discussion this afternoon. So don't worry if I don't answer it straight away. If it is something that I think is of great importance, what I'll do is I'll drag that question across onto the live screen, and we can dig into that in more detail. Also, rest assured, I'm going to share my contact details with you at the end of the session as well. So whether you want to come back to me as a direct point of contact for you and your school, or whether you have questions that you'd rather discuss offline, by all means, you can come straight to me. So to recap, we have created a class and we have added some course material to that class. Now, there are a couple of ways we can add students. I'm just going to sort of leapfrog the next step that I'm being directed to, because at the moment, as you'll notice, we've got an empty class. So there are a couple of ways you can invite pupils to your class. You can send them a link. You can push it through Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, or via email, or indeed you can print QR codes off, little wallet-sized QR codes, so you can see invitation to join Mr. Clark Smith's class, Tuesday PM class. They can then just zap that with their phone or their tablet and gain direct access to the classroom And in a little while, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share you a link of an assignment. So if you're able to, you can join a class as I'm talking and have a feel for the Seneca flow as a pupil yourself. Let me just close that one down. So I'm going to jump back to my classes, and I'm going to come to Tuesday afternoon class, and I'm going to look at that course material, Geography AQA A-level, and I'm going to look at, okay, what is it that I want to set my pupils? And as you'll notice here in this tile, I've got the core course material here, hours and hours of work. You can choose any element of this. You don't have to run it in chronological or sort of chapter order. So I could jump in at any point, but for the purposes of today, and trying to keep it in fitting with the fact that we are sort of term week 1 or 2, depending on where you are, I'm going to look at natural systems. I'm going to select natural systems. I'm going to look at the water cycle, and I'm going to select the first 4 there as well. And as you'll notice, if you were sort of paying close attention, you'll have seen up at the top here that we estimate how long the piece of coursework will last for your pupils. So as I select or deselect these chapters, you will see the completion time increase or decrease. So I've selected there, I've got five units that I would like to send to the class. But how do I know that that's on point, that it's what I want them to be looking at? So I'm going to check storm hydrographs. So I'm just going to click on that link for preview. And this brings up all the material and the question flow that would face your pupils. So if we scroll through this more slowly, I'll talk us through. So we have, initially we start with a carousel of core content for the pupil to work through. We can see here we've got 3 little units of content. And then we would move down to the questioning. So we have an annotation here. Pupils need to complete the labeling. Now come through continuing using that illustration. What do we call this? So looking to identify the type of graph that's being used. And you'll notice here that we use a lot of sort of moving pictures. We use GIFs and video clips. For some course material, we even have a lecture style with a presentation through a YouTube video. And the idea here is one is, of course, to keep pupils engaged. A lot of it is also around ensuring that dual coding so that pupils can get a dual representation of their learning to further that memory retention. And as I scroll through, we can see here, we've got a sentence in context, but I've got a missing value here that I would need to fill in as a pupil. Likewise for this table of sort of vocabulary and meaning. So you can follow through here. We've got another carousel of content, and I'm thinking, absolutely, that's what I want to assign to my students. So I can close that. No harm done. That was just a preview. And now I'm going to click on assign. I've got those 5 units. I'm going to call that Geography A-level week 1. If I can spell it correctly. There we go, Geography A-level week 1. And you'll notice that the start date for the homework defaults to today's date. Now I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm actually going to be teaching this class tomorrow. So I'm going to change the date, start date to Wednesday the 9th. And the default due date is always a week and sort of a week hence. So I'm just going to change that from the 14th to the 15th. So I'm giving my pupils a week after their lesson to complete that piece of homework. And I'm going to click on create, and the magic happens. It is then sort of compiled together and ready to distribute to your class. And as in the same way as we were looking at how do we get pupils to join the class, we can do this in a multiple of ways. So I can click on the Google Classroom. Now I'm not connected here, but I would be able to allocate that to my particular Google class, likewise through Teams, and I could send it via email. So it might be that you and your TA are planning a particular intervention, or it could be a pre-teach or a focused post-class session. And you can forward that assignment through to other colleagues so that they can review the course material, that flow of questioning, or indeed present it on the big screen in a classroom for the whole class rather than an individual response basis. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy that link, and I'm just going to drop it into the comments. And I'm going to ask you if you're able to access that link, and that way, what we'll see is see you joining as pupils to my class. You'll also see what it looks like and how easy it is from taking a single link to then being a member of that particular class. So I'm going to close that. I've set that assignment. It has gone out to the wide world. And here is my dashboard. You'll see down the left-hand side here, I've got a number of quick links, and here are my assignments. And so for this Tuesday afternoon class, all I've set so far is this Geography A-Level Week 1. And as we start completing that work, you will see the total number of students who completed. And because we typically do have a homework policy in place or a home learning policy, you will be able to differentiate those who have completed but are late, and those who have incompleted or sort of submitted incomplete. And what this means, as we have a number of units here, pupils can submit a score, but it would be for only as many units as they have actually completed and saved to the system. And in a moment, I'll show you in a different view just what that looks like. As you can see here, to the right of this tile, we collect those average class scores, and those would start filtering in as pupils are completing the homework. Now I'm going to jump across and show you what does that look like if you've actually got classes at play. So here I have a different class, a year 5 class. So I'm suddenly a primary school teacher who is teaching GCSE and BTEC. It's a strange world that I'm clearly living in. So I've got these 2 upcoming assignments. If I click on the link here, I can see exactly those pupils in my class and their progress with this piece of homework that, let's not forget, is not due yet. So I can see already class averages coming through. And just to sort of identify where we're at with this data, I can see that Cristobal has only completed the electron shells, subshells, and orbitals subject matter here, and we're still waiting for these 2 units. If I come back to my assignments, these are the ones that are upcoming, but of course, let's not forget about history. We do want to make sure that we're maintaining all of that rich class and pupil data for you. So I'm going to jump into a test account. And here we have Elizabethan England piece of coursework. And unfortunately here, clearly as class teacher, I've got to take some onus here. I've not been promoting Seneca enough. So I've got 31 respondents who actually submitted their work late. And you can see as a consequence as well, I've not got particularly solid scores. So let's have a look. We had 2 units assigned, Elizabeth's Secession and Character and the Court. Now this is showing our best scores. This is the default you'll see from this drop down here. And what this shows is that really our best practice, if you're really going to get the most out of Seneca, is to encourage your pupils not just to visit that homework once, but to keep revisiting it to ensure their scores get as high as possible. Because the way Seneca works is it's not a static flow of questions. There's a smart algorithm behind it that is there to ensure that it's delivering a personalized learning experience. So each student will actually follow an individualized question pathway based on their correct and incorrect answers. And so each time they revisit that piece of coursework, they're going to be focusing on the material that is most relevant to them making a successful outcome. So that means that we will typically see multiple efforts. So let's change this report, and I'm going to look at the number of attempts. So if we look at this Cristobal again, we can see that actually it took 12 attempts for this second unit on Elizabeth's Character and the Court. So let's have a look at how that changes. So we've got 12 attempts. His first attempt was 96%, but equally, Elizabeth's Secession, 44% for the first attempt. Now, the most recent attempt, we can see a shift there, fluctuation. So actually, we're seeing an imbalance in Cristobal's progress. So whilst that first unit is going up, we're actually losing our understanding. So we've actually slipped into that, maybe that forgetting curve for Cristobal. So this will be able to give you as a class teacher sort of live insights, as it were, or as live as possible, to where the pupils have either misconceptions or gaps in their working memory, which you then filter into planning for the classroom journey for them. Of course, all reporting, we know that whatever environment you're in, there's always someone above you who wants to know what's going on. So of course, we do allow an export to CSV so that you can output that class data, that homework data, collate it, and that can then feed into whether it's an SLT pupil progress discussion, whether it's your own performance review with department or SLT. You can bring this data in a format that works for you to highlight exactly how your pupils are progressing. Now, I'm not particularly happy with how this class have completed this work, if I'm honest. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the smart reassign. And what this allows you to do is, without having to put too much time or effort in, I'm actually going to identify everyone who has got a score below 50%. And you can see that the page has filtered out those pupils, and I'm going to call this revisit, and I'm going to reassign. And so that is going to allow me to highlight that work to only the most relevant pupils, so only those who were scoring below 50%. Now, of course, I could have done that to a range. I could have done that to everyone below 80%, or I could have had a combination of those that were incomplete or below 50 or 80%. So let's just take a moment to reflect. Of course, this can be an opportunity to pop questions in. We've looked at how you sign in and create an account. Very simple, using a single sign-on if you have one available. We've looked at how to create classes. We've looked at how to bring content into that class, how to send that content as a piece of homework, and also how do we add students, and then ultimately how do we report on content. Now, I talked at the beginning about sort of start of the year coming in. You might be a well-versed practitioner across Seneca, and you're thinking, right, okay, my school, it's not a premium package, so I don't have a connection to the MIS, to Sims, etc. So I need to have a bit of manual care of my classes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that this English was last year's cohort. So I'm actually going to archive that class. And that will take it out of active play for me. So I can't see it in my dashboard straight away because it's sort of irrelevant to my day-to-day. But I don't want to delete it. I don't want to get rid of that data because there's still active participants within the school community. I will likely still need to furnish somebody, whether that's myself or a colleague, with a data point for those pupils. So I can change this filter and I can look back to archived classes. And you'll see here, this is where all my archived classes are. And I can bring that up and the data is still within that particular class. Okay, not seeing any questions coming through the chat just yet, so I'm going to jump straight into the student platform. So what's it like as a student learner? So here is my home page as a pupil, and often we're asked, right, what does pupils see in terms of their learning? Is it only down to what a teacher will ascribe to them or allocate to them? And the answer is no. We want Seneca to be a sort of a democratic and autonomous learning platform. So pupils can explore the world of learning at their own pace and follow their own enthusiasm for learning. So all the courses that you have available as staff are equally available to pupils. So we can see with this example case here that we have a pupil who's got these 3 recent courses. And I can then look to search additional courses. This is what they have chosen already. We make suggestions. So based on what they've done already, what would add value to their learning journey? We've got highlights of new curriculum. So you'll see these are fresh this week. So we've got a brand new Key Stage 3 religious studies. Treasure Island has just been mapped, and Dracula as well. So continual workflow here to ensure the very latest curriculum requirements are being met. So as a pupil, I can explore my own learning. So if I come back to home, the next priority is, of course, what is it as a pupil I need to focus my attention to? So we have this one panel here that gives them the very next piece of coursework that has been assigned to them. And as we can see here, I have got Foundation Vocab, Spanish course that is due by the 13th of September. And I have not, well, this pupil has not started this yet, so I can click straight through to it here, or I could see any and all set homework. So you'll see these are all due, hierarched or ranked by due date. So soonest to furthest from now. And I can look at past assignments as well. So start of the new term, this pupil doesn't have any new or sort of past assignments. And at any point, whether they are upcoming, past, or current, I can continue to complete that particular piece of work. So let's just have a look. Now, I'm not going to be a good student here. My Spanish is next to nothing, but I've just clicked on that assignment, and I can see here that these are the 5 elements. Oh, actually, this is a biology piece of homework. I've not gone all the way to the front again. So I've got five topics here to be assessed. So I'm just going to jump straight in. As we've seen before, we have that rotating carousel of knowledge, and then I can work my way through my flow of questioning. So here we have a fun little slider. So just there we go. So let me just pull that back up. It moved me down to the next question. So you've got to select which is incorrect and make these statements true. And again, here's sort of annotation here, name the 2 types of cells. I'm thinking, I don't know this, so I don't recall. So we never get rid of that content. So I can always come up to the top of the page or to that nearest module of course content to find the answer. So I'm looking at this. So I've got prokaryotes, and I'm going to just say, so I'm going to try and remember the spelling here. I didn't type it in correctly. I cheated and I checked. So this is recorded as an incorrect answer. I'm going to come through, and now I'm delving in further into that content. And as I said before, the content is recursive, so it's going to keep coming back to ensure that I'm filling that gap, that I'm demonstrating to the algorithm that I'm not understanding certain parts. So as we were to progress through that module, I would be directed back until I'm showing competency in answering that particular question. As you can see from the slider up at the top here, that is demonstrating the progress I'm making through the piece of coursework. So I can see that I'm very nearly halfway through, just after a couple of questions. Once I've completed this particular section here, 1.1.1, that would then be saved. I could exit here without losing any of my progress, and I could come back to complete the rest at a later date. To further our introduction to the pupil platform, here I have my my memory palace. This is where we add that element, that essence of gamification. So for a number of pupils, it is vital that they feel engaged with their learning, and a sense of competition, a sense of fun is really going to help them keep coming back to their learning and through Seneca. So I can see here I've got to unlock my memory palace. So I'm still a relatively new learner here. So I've signed up, I've found my school, I've added courses, I've still got to answer 50 questions, and I've got to store 3 memories. Now, the memories, they are tiles such as this. So every time you finish a unit, you are given an option of where do you want to store that learning in the world. So this pupil has chosen a quaint looking village in the Czech Republic. And so all the knowledge, a bit like Sherlock Holmes hiding all his knowledge and all the clues of a case in his memory palace, is exactly what we're doing. We're allowing pupils to locate their core material through these images. So if I come back, that would be saved there. And as I would progress to answer these, my memory palace would be unlocked, and I would be able to then see them across that map of the globe. For each course as well that a pupil undertakes, there is a global leaderboard. So using a sort of an auto-generated nickname, they will then sit within a global sort of battle for dominance. So you can see here down, or this person is down at 157 of the leaderboard with 299 memory points for that particular unit. And you can keep revisiting. You can invite friends to join you on that particular course and that leaderboard so that you can then really boost your score. And then these core metrics. So a total knowledge score, how many questions have I answered, and what has been the total learning time. The last thing I will mention, and I will look to show you, I'm just going to log out as a teacher. One of the key messages that we want staff to, or we need staff to mention as well, is that parents can get involved. As I'm sure you know, that one of the biggest battles that we can face is getting that parent buy-in to particularly home learning. How can they support their children with making progress? And we can connect your learners to their parents. So here I am logging in as a parent, and a colleague of mine has kindly offered to sort of link her student account with me, so I can see all the courses, in this case, sort of what this child is completing. And so I can see the date range. So we're looking at that from the whole last year, September to now, September 2020 to now. And so I can review each of these units, so I can see exactly what has been set or what they have chosen to undertake, how long has it taken. I can see the average score, total number of sessions, and correct answers, so that I can have that dialogue. I can feel enabled to play a part in my child's learning. So if I just jump out of there, I'm going to say again, any questions that you have, please do just drop them into the comment box. Really don't want you going anywhere this afternoon without, or with any questions that you sort of wish that you could have asked at the time. The last thing, as I said, I would take a look at is, what is the difference? If you were to have a conversation with colleagues across your department, across the school, and realize there was an opportunity for premium, what does a premium school receive? So you might have noticed that there's about 150% more content available for premium schools. We also offer a different selection of content types. So you can see here on the screen that there can be revision papers, revision notes, night before, so cramming sessions. Also, whilst we cannot, no one can access past papers due to copyright, we do, working with those examining bodies, we have predicted papers. So this is the most likely flow of questions, styles, and content that can be anticipated for the current academic year. So we have those predicted papers as well. I mentioned earlier that if you're premium, we can connect to your MIS, so your SIMS or alternative data management profiles. And that means that we can align all the student learning to individual profiles, be that which class they're in, which teachers. We can also designate or see the designation of pupils as to whether they are pupil premium, SEN, GRT, etc. So any factor that you use within your school to identify those cohorts and ensure that they are making progress can be filtered into Seneca as well. As I say, extra course content and smart learning mode. And this is where that sort of algorithm jumps to the next stage. And really, with this data scientists, the educational scientists that we have on our teams, really is there to direct a bespoke, differentiated and individualized learning path for pupils. So this means that we really are looking to combat that forgetting curve, looking at a lot of recursive learning, interleaving, and as well a wrong answer mode, so that when pupils have completed a piece of coursework, they can focus on where they were getting things wrong. They can look at just those wrong answers. So there's a breadth beyond what you might be logging in to seeing today. So if there's anything of interest there, do please let me know, have a conversation with SLT, department heads as well. Which I think leaves only one thing left to do. I'm going to drop my email address into the comment box. Aha, before we sign off, Hetty, Victoria's fantastic question. Can you rename a class if they move up to the next year? That's a really interesting one there. So I'm just going to come back through into my classes. And what you'll find is that is a static class. So what you're looking to do, there are two options there. One is the premium route that I discussed, because your new class each year would move with that data as it's coming in, and the old class would be archived. Alternatively, from the free basis, it would be a case of creating a new class and bringing in new pupils. So thank you, Hetty, for that question. Great to see the engagement from all of you and your comments and your thanks. That's been fantastic to talk to you this afternoon. Do please use my email address if you've got any questions about what I've talked about today. If you want to take the conversation further about how we can engage your colleagues, or indeed if you want to have a look at the premium option. So thank you so much for carving out the time. It's been a pleasure. Take care and enjoy the rest of your afternoons. Many thanks.